Story time! Because why the fuck not? What is up, alienARMy? I am Oculus, the alien next door, purveyor of esoteric lore. And on this channel, we discuss everything out of this world. So today's video, we're just gonna talk.
Well, I'm gonna talk, and I guess if you want to listen, you'll listen.
This is just gonna be talking about some manifestations that I have experienced and created in my third dimensional realm domain. And I'm gonna give some examples of what type of manifestation was, how that happened, and what I was feeling and thinking and doing when I manifested these things. The first story time is, I'm just gonna call it pissing in front of Yankee Stadium, so let's get started. Now, I mentioned this in one of my other videos. I'm gonna add it again because it's just too motherfucking amazing to not mention it again, so here we are. Basically, this was years ago. I was with a friend of mine and we were driving from New Jersey to New York because at that time I was living in New York. So we were driving from Jersey to New York, and if you're familiar with, like, you know, New York, New Jersey, shit like that, you know that traffic in between the fucking states, even in between the fucking boroughs, sometimes can be really crazy. Keep that in mind. So I was with my friend, I was in the passenger seat, my friend was driving, and we had gotten some Dunkin' Donuts, and you know, we're just in the car sipping our coffee, fucking chatting, things like that. So we're driving along, and I don't know about you, but for me, coffee, he make me motherfucking pee.
Okay.
So Mr. Coffee, he makes me pee.
It's okay though, I love him.
So we're driving and we're approaching the fucking G-Dub. For those of you that don't know, it's the George Washington Bridge. That's just my little nicknames. Heads up. We're approaching the G-Dub and I'm feeling like I have to fucking pee. Mind you, this was years ago, so I mean, I knew I was psychic and I knew about manifestation to an extent, but it wasn't like I am now. So I wasn't really consciously trying to perform anything at this point. Keep that in mind, because this is an example of how we are always manifesting even when we might not be consciously aware of it. So I wasn't consciously trying to do anything. I just became aware. My fucking physical vessel told me,
homie, we gotta use the fucking restroom.
and obviously because we were approaching the G-Dub, sitting in a car in traffic, where was that gonna happen? So I'm like, you know what? All we have to do is just get over the G-Dub, then go over the Triborough, and then I'm gonna be back in Queens and shit gonna be okay, because then I'm gonna run to the fucking potty. But did that happen? So I'm with my friend, we're sitting there, and I'm feeling it. I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but like this is becoming a situation. Okay, it was becoming one. It hadn't been one yet. And I'm like, you know what? I'm still like acting normal. I'm not telling my friend anything. We're just sitting in traffic. And as we are getting onto the bridge, suddenly that shit becomes dire. And I was like, oh my goodness gracious. Like, I'm gonna wet myself in this person's car. I tell my friend, hey, you know, I have to pee. Oh, like, can you hold it? Like, is it that serious? You know, first, like, you know, kind of telling me what I think I probably would have said. I was like, I think so, I don't know. I didn't really know where it was going. So a few minutes later, mind you, we're still sitting in traffic, okay? If you're not from the New York fucking area, then well,
unless you're in LA, maybe.
You're not even gonna know what sitting in traffic is like. Basically, it was the middle of rush hour. I don't know why motherfuckers were going into the city at that time, because usually it's the opposite, but either which way, this is how the story goes, okay? So we are still sitting in the car. Now we're going over the bridge, and I'm like thinking, I'm like, holy shit, like this needs to, like, we need to stop. The car needs to stop. And I'm not telling this to my friend. I'm just thinking this I'm just like, car needs to stop, car needs to stop, car needs to stop, because I had to fucking pee. So I'm telling my friend, I'm like, listen, do you want to pull over like after we get off the bridge? And my friend is like, pull over where? We're in the middle, you know, it's like the middle of the fucking bridge, the middle of the fucking highway. I'm like, I don't know, but I have to pee. So then now my friend is kind of like, oh, it might be a little serious. And I'm not saying anything, I'm just concentrated for whatever reason. And I didn't tell my friend to stop the car, mind you. I did not say that. I feel like that's important to mention. I didn't say that. I was just thinking in my mind, car needs to stop, car needs to stop, car needs to stop, car needs to stop, because I'm there and I'm sitting in the fucking seat like, holy shit, like if I move an inch, then I don't know what's gonna happen, right? So I'm just sitting there, and so I'm like, listen, can we like pull over? Maybe you just stop on the side of the road just so I can go do what I gotta do, right? And my friend is just like, I don't think they took it as seriously as it was, because remember, they drank coffee too. I guess they didn't have to pee. I don't know, everyone is different, okay? But either which way, my friend is just like not, basically it wasn't said, oh yeah, we're gonna pull the car over, okay? So basically that's what was going on. Because really logically there would have been no place anyway. You know, we're on the bridge, there's bumper to bumper, there's cars all over the place. Like where would we have even pulled over? You know, and there's like music playing and things like that, you know, like shit is just going on. But in my mind I'm like, car needs to stop, car needs to stop, car needs to stop, car needs to stop. That's what I was thinking. So we get off the bridge and there's like a, I don't know, a curly exit ramp or something. So then we're gonna go to the fucking Triborough, whatever. There was like, we had to go through the Bronx and then get on the fucking Triborough Bridge. So mind you, there's still one more bridge to go after the fucking G-dub, right? When all this is going on and I had to fucking pee. So we're on the exit ramp and I'm still thinking, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm not gonna make it, especially with that fucking traffic. So that happens, and you know, the music is on, and you know, I'm just like, I'm kind of silent now because I was concentrating on not fucking wetting myself. So I'm just still thinking, car needs to stop, car needs to stop, because like that was the only thing on my fucking mind. Like it was crazy. And I remember, I wasn't consciously trying to manifest nothing. I was just like, this is what needs to happen now. So we're on the exit ramp, and then we're going down to whatever the fuck, I forget what fucking highway that is over there. Anyway, so we finally get on the highway, and there's still like, you know, the traffic thinned out a little bit, but it wasn't like, you know, flowing fast. And then I knew in that instant, I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to make it. Like we're moving too slow at this point. So out of nowhere, mind you, I told you there was music playing. My friend is like, did you hear something? Like, you know, driving and shit. And I'm like, no, because I wasn't hearing nothing. I was just like doing my mantra, car needs to stop, car needs to stop, car needs to stop. So I wasn't, what was I gonna hear? You know, the sound of my own voice. So my friend was like, wait, I heard something. And then lowers the music, rolls down the window a little bit. Wait, I hear something. I'm like, what do you hear? Because I was just in my zone, you know what I mean? I was trying not to fucking piss myself in this person's car. And so my friend said that they thought the car had a flat tire. So I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, are you serious? Like, cause I don't fucking know, right? So then the window was rolled down. Mind you, we're in like traffic, so like other cars are like kind of like driving next to us, but like not on purpose, like, and we're going slow. So then someone in the neighboring car over there rolls down their window, and then they say, yo, you got a flat. And then I'm like, oh, okay. So then, mind you, what was my mantra the whole time? Car needs to stop, car needs to stop, car needs to stop. Flat tire. My friend says, gotta pull the car over.
Jesus, Mary, and Buddha.
When that happened, mind you, I was not practicing like active manifestation at that point. I was not practicing it. All I was doing, and this is important, this was in the situation which I considered to be dire in that moment. Okay, it was. I mean, for me in that moment, it was dire. It needed to happen. Car needs to stop. That's what I was just repeating in my mind, like with fervor. Okay, with fucking fervor. Ooh, that's a good one. Fucking fervor. I was repeating that over and over, not concentrating on anything else. It was nothing else could have been on my mind because I had to fucking piss. And I was like, car needs to stop, car needs to stop, car needs to stop. That happens, like there's like an exit ramp over here, and then there's like, you know, the highway continues there, and there's like a little, I don't know, I guess like a section where you could pull over. So pulled over in the middle of that section, there's cars going up that way, there's cars going up that way, and we were in the fucking Bronx, and Yankee Stadium was there, which is why I called it pissing in front of Yankee Stadium. It's funny because the friend who I was with is like a diehard Yankees fan, and so it was just really funny to me, the fact that like what happened next. Afterwards we were laughing about it, but in the moment, you know, we weren't, but whatever. So it was just kind of like the irony of it. I see the lights of fucking Yankee Stadium, and then mind you, I'm in the middle of the fucking road, okay? There's cars going that way, cars going that way, and I'm like, I gotta pee. So I carry like fucking tissues and sanitizer, and I carry a whole bunch of shit with me at all times because I like to be prepared. And so my friend is like going to the back of the car, gonna, I don't know, fix the tire.
I don't know what, change the tire.
So my friend pulls the car over and starts going to the back of the car to get the tire situation taken care of. And I'm like, listen, I'm gonna go to the front and pee because I gotta go. And my friend's just like, all right. So I go to the front of the car, you know, I try to like hide myself because mind you, I'm in the middle of the fucking highway, but I didn't give a fuck at this point. And then I just, you know, I just fucking went. And I just remember I was just looking at the lights of Yankee Stadium because it was all lit up because it was like dark out. Yeah, that's what happened. So needless to say, after that, you know, the situation ended up fine. You know, it was really weird because some people pulled over and like started helping with the tire change. Like they came prepared. They were wearing fucking like orange reflector jumpsuits, and it was like it was straight out of like the timing was like so orchestrated that I know was from the universe. That was something that occurred that benefited my situation, right? Like, and it worked out perfectly because not only pulling over to the side of the road, but then now you have like these people coming through to help with the fucking tire change and all of that shit. Like it was just weird, and I'm just standing there and I'm like, oh my god. So then after we get back in the car, it's like I kind of felt like my friend was like, what the fuck, just like you know, kind of like a weird vibe, like that was weird. And so my friend's like, that was really fucking strange. I'm like, yeah, it was. I don't know, I had to pee. And needless to say, you know, we like drove back and out any further incidents. But what I was concentrated on without the really conceptualization of law of attraction at that time, I felt that it was a dire situation because in the moment it fucking was. And I know some of you been there before too. And I was just like, car needs to stop, car needs to stop, car needs to stop, car needs to stop. Like, I don't know how many times I was repeating that, but in my head, I didn't, like, I suggested to my friends, like, can we maybe pull over and I'll piss on the side of the road? Because that's what I was picturing too when I was, you know, I was like, we don't even need to find a fucking McDonald's that I could run into. Like, I'll go on the side of the road. Okay, we
like it was that fucking serious.
And so that's what I was picturing. So I was kind of picturing myself pissing on the side of the road.
I don't know why. This is a really crazy story.
This is why I wanted to tell it because it's just so fucking funny. So then, you know, I didn't picture the lights of Yankee Stadium as my fucking backdrop as I'm pissing in the fucking middle of the highway. But, you know, that was just the added fucking benefit. Thank you, universe. So that's essentially what happened. And I just was picturing, I had the image of myself pissing on the side of the road, and it was just mantra, car needs to stop, car needs to stop, car needs to stop. Boom. I would say I was reciting that in my head for maybe 15 or 10 minutes, and then that's what happened. So my observation is that occurred perfectly for the situation. So in any situation, whether you think that you are consciously manifesting or not, whether you know that you are consciously manifesting or not, you are always manifesting, because at that point I wasn't even trying to do like law of attraction things. I mean, maybe I was a little bit, but you know, it's not the level where I'm at now where I know more details about it. It was just genuine, it was pure, it was not coming from a place of I'm gonna manifest this. No, it was just I had the picture in my mind. All the car needed to do was stop so that I could go to the side of the road. I took care of what I had to take care of, and that was it. I wasn't, you know, expecting bells and whistles and things like that, but I was just like, car needs to stop, car needs to stop, car needs to stop. Boom. And then that happened. That's story number 1. Story time number 2, the $5 bill. So this one is actually, it's kind of, I mean, this one I thought was really magical. And again, this happens like years ago. It wasn't something that where I was in a place where I was like actively manifesting and things like that. So this is another key point. You are always, always, always manifesting. This one, I was getting my nails done. I was getting my pedicure done. I was at the nail salon. And at this particular nail salon, there was an option that you could buy your own pumice stones.
I don't know if it's pumice stone, but I call it pumice stone.
So there you go. Basically to scrub your feet with. I wanted to buy a pumice stone. And so the lady who's doing my pedicure, like she's doing my pedicure, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get the pumice stone, right, to take home with me. And she was like, okay, no problem. So she's like, you want the stone? So then she, after she's done with my pedicure, she goes and she brings me the stone, and I'm like, okay, that's $5, right? She's like, yeah, it's $5. Okay, that was the price. That was what we talked about. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know, I'm waiting for my toes to dry and shit. So then someone else, I don't remember who it was, I think it was the one who did my nails, came over and was like, okay, so here's the bill. And then I'm looking, mind you, I had the pumice stone in my bag because she already gave it to me, the first woman. And so the second one comes over and then she's like, oh, so here's the total, whatever. And I'm like, because I noticed that the pumice stone, which was $5, was not on the bill.
And because I'm an honest motherfucker,
I was like, oh yeah, and I got the pumice stone too. She's like, oh, okay, the pumice stone. I'm like, yeah. So then she adds $5 to the bill, and I'm like, okay, no problem, you know. So then I give her the cash and she goes to the register to, like, you know, give me my change back. I have the pumice stone in my bag that I purchased, that I just told her to add to the tab for $5. And so she comes back and she hands me my change, and then she gives me a pumice stone. And I'm like, wait, but I have the stone in my bag. So it's like, first of all, the first thing is that the original pumice stone that I had in my bag was not on the bill that the second lady came over to give me. You know, so I could have got it for free at that point had I not said something. But she comes over, then I tell her, okay, yeah, and I got the stone. She adds the $5, but she didn't know that I already had the stone from the first lady that gave it to me, and it was in my bag. So she brought me another one. And then I said, no, I let you know that I bought the pumice stone, and I showed her the one that I had in my bag. She's like, oh, you already had it. I'm like, yeah, you know. So then whatever, I ended up paying $5 to the pumice stone, but there were two opportunities there that I could have had it for free had I not said anything. So I'm like, okay, something good is gonna happen right now, because I was honest not once but 2 times. And not that I wasn't looking for a reward or anything like that. Like, this was a nail spot that I frequented, so it wasn't like I was gonna I ain't trying to rob a motherfucker for a $5 pumice stone, you know what I mean? Like, no. So either which way, I immediately knew as soon as I left the salon, I'm like, something good is gonna happen right now, because 2 times I could have got the stone for free, or I could have purchased one and got 2, and you know, whatever. So I'm like, something good is gonna happen. There was no feeling associated with it. It was just pure knowing, like, something good is gonna happen right now, because I just knew it, right? So mind you, the pumice stone is $5. So then I'm walking along in the street, and this is sort of like an area, like not a commercial area, but you know, like an area where there's like a whole bunch of stores and shops. Like, it's like a populated area. It wasn't like a residential area, you know what I mean? Lots of different people could have been walking by or whatever. So I'm just walking on the street, and I'm walking, I guess I was going home. I don't know where the fuck I was going after that, but I was just walking, and I'm in a good mood. And the sidewalk is like completely empty in front of me. I mean, there are people like walking here, walking there, and this is the middle of the day too, like probably like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm walking, and in my path, like, there was no one around, even though this was like a, you know, an area with like shops and things like that. There was no one around at all. I see in front of me there was something, and like, I tell you, like, direct in front of me, like whoosh, like tunnel vision. Okay, I'm walking like this, you know, just that's how I was walking. Dead in front of me, like, not to this side, not to that side, like, boom, in front of me, like direct in my line of vision. I see something folded neatly on the ground, on the fucking sidewalk, like folded neatly in like 4s. And I'm like, what is this? So I look, and I'm like, oh, it's money, right? Because I saw it was fucking money, so I picked it up, because it was like dead right in front of me. You know, it didn't fall out of someone's wallet in front of me and I saw it. No, it was folded neatly in 4s.
kind of like an accordion, if you folded it, whatever, that's how it's folded, okay?
Folded neatly like that, just folded perfectly. I tell you, folded perfectly, not crumpled up, folded in front of me. I pick it up, I'm like, oh, this is money. I open it up, that little money accordion. You know what I'm about to say, right? You already fucking know. You already fucking know that that shit was legit a $5 bill. We gonna drop the mic. We gonna take it away. This happens legit. I was in the fucking nail salon. Something good is gonna happen because of this. Boom. Guess what? I'm walking dead in front of me. As I'm walking, not even, probably like less than 15 minutes later, a neatly folded $5 bill in like direct line of my vision as I'm walking. You gotta be shitting me. I knew that shit, I'm like there, I'm in the middle of the street, like oh shit. Mind you, not at that time was I, knowingly manifesting my shit. I was subconsciously manifesting shit. But what happened is that in that moment, when I had that clear knowing, like something good is gonna happen because of that, the Puma stone and the $5, whatever, what happened? I ended up getting the Puma stone for free anyway, because the $5 bill was presented. Like it was like heaven extended its hand and just had it folded neatly. Boom, this is for you. And I'm not saying that it was like, oh, it was a miracle or whatever. It's like because I am the miracle, and because I just knew in that moment, without doubt, without hesitation, without anything, it was just knowing something good is going to happen because of this. I created that because I knew immediately. My intuition told me. I mean, I always was listening to my intuition, but I wasn't really aware of like conscious manifestation. So I'm not saying that I didn't listen to my intuition when the clear knowing came in, like something good is going to happen because of the $5 bill situation. So what happened in the moment that I wasn't thinking about it? Something good is going to happen because there were two opportunities to either get the Puma stone for free or to get two of them for the price of one. And I was like, I didn't need it like that, you see. So this also is coming into where when you don't need anything, that's when it's going to be granted to you. When you have no fear about anything, about like money or anything, because in this sense it was about money. I was just like, something good is going to happen. And I had the $5 bill Puma stone in my mind. So what happened? I conjured up, unknowingly, but still I did it, conjured up that $5 bill, because what was the focus? $5 Puma stone. What's gonna happen? $5 is gonna come back at me, right? Because I'm thinking $5 Puma stone. That was my vibration, even though I wasn't consciously aware of it, and I knew something good was gonna happen. So the way that it was just presented to me, like on a silver platter, like here you go, I said, oh snap, thank you universe. Story time number 3. The airport. So this one again is from a few years ago, like the others, and I think the reason why I want to bring up the ones that went on a few years ago is because I
have a lot of story times like this, but
I feel like it's important talking about these because during that time I was not consciously aware that I was creating my reality. I mean, I knew to some extent. I just, I was more like, this is psychic ability, which I mean it can be, but it's also like how much intuition are you taking in and then like utilizing that intuition and taking inspired action to create it. It's like they go hand in hand, but that's another topic. Basically, I always had this like psychic thing going on, but with the conscious manifesting, this was not something that I was practicing. And I want to say that because this is to really reiterate and drive the point home that you are always creating your experience, even when you are seemingly unaware of it. So the airport story goes like this. I had flown to LA, to Los Angeles, and this was for like a business trip, I guess you could say, and it really just required me to be there for like one evening. So I was like, okay, I had a hotel booked for one evening and that was it. I wasn't planning on staying longer. This was in like the winter, it was like in December. So keep that in mind, all right? I was coming from New York and I went to LA for a business trip for one evening in the winter time. So I was there, the next day arrived and it's time for me to go back. I had a flight booked and this flight was not direct LA to New York. This was a flight that had a layover in Chicago. And I remember that. So I get to the airport and, you know, I only have like one bag with me, right? Because it was like really just an overnight fucking stay. It wasn't like a, you know, a fucking extended vacation or whatever. And, you know, I'm at the airport, and what happens is that when I go to the desk, whatever, the clerk,
I don't know what the fuck, okay?
basically they told me, they're like, oh, well, you know, you're welcome to stay at the airport, but your flight has been canceled because of the weather. And I'm like, the weather? And then they're like, yeah, the weather in Chicago. It's wintertime, remember. I'm flying from LA, layover Chicago to New York. New York, the weather was fine. LA, the weather was fine. I mean, wintertime, it's not gonna snow in LA anyway. But there was like a blizzard in Chicago at that point. And I'm like, are you serious? And then mind you, I could have, I guess, stayed another night and booked a hotel. Like, you know, it wasn't like I had to be somewhere literally the next day, although I wanted to get back for like a personal reason, which
that worked out too.
But anyway, what happened is that this was like before I went through security or whatever, and like they just told me that at the desk. They're like, well, yeah, you know, the flight is canceled, or it was like 12-hour delay, which pretty much means the flight was canceled. Anyway, the person was like, well, you know, you're welcome to stay in the airport, but you know, this is the situation. I'm like, okay. So in that moment, mind you, at that point, I'm not consciously aware that I am manifesting all the time, but I like stood there and I'm like, I gotta get to New York tonight. I'm gonna get to New York tonight. And I said that. It was just, that was it. I'm gonna get to New York tonight. There was no feeling associated with it. It was just, I'm getting to New York tonight. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm getting to New York. So I made that decision. There was nothing, I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna try to manifest. No, because I wasn't thinking like that at that time. So in my mind, I confirmed, I made a statement in my mind from pure neutrality. Whatever the, you know, the ticket booth,
what do they call, I don't know, whatever.
The desk clerk said, you know, that the flight was canceled. I was like, I'm getting to New York tonight. Okay, that was it. That was it. Like, it didn't matter. Flight canceled, blizzard here, whatever there. It didn't matter. So I'm like, okay, you know what? And I was so sure about myself that I went with, you know, I had my one little carry-on bag, and that was it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to New York tonight. So, because I had a moment of hesitation right before. I was like, should I call these people and tell them that, you know, maybe I'm going to be here another night and whatever, and you know, I was gonna leave in the morning, but I'm like, you know what, no, I'm getting to New York tonight. There was like that moment before I had the conviction. I did toy with it a little bit. I was like, should I not? And then I was like, fuck that, I'm getting to New York tonight. Boom, boom. I went through security, and then I'm like walking through the airport, and there was no feeling. I wasn't upset that the flight was canceled. I wasn't excited like, oh, I'm gonna manifest something else. You know, I wasn't thinking that, you know, someone was gonna drop in and fly me on a private jet. Like, no, I wasn't. There was nothing. It was just, I'm getting to New York tonight. That's what it was. There was nothing else. And I wasn't repeating it over and over again like a mantra. It was just kind of like, yeah, that's what it is. I'm getting to New York tonight. Like, I'm wearing black right now. That's what it is. Ain't nothing else. So I go through security, and then I decide, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the gate. I forget, because this is like a while ago. I forget my intention, but I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna, for shits and giggles, go to like the gate area where, you know, the flight that I was supposed to get on would depart from. So I don't remember this part. I don't think it's really relevant either which way, but somehow I found my way to a gate where it said, the screen said LAX to JFK, and I'm like, oh shit, so there's a flight that's going to New York to JFK, because on the layover I was supposed to fly into LaGuardia, not JFK. So that's something else I should mention. So the original flight was LAX to O'Hare to LaGuardia. This one was LAX to JFK, which obviously that's non-stop. So I was like, well, you know, because that wasn't my fucking flight. You know, I had the connecting flight. So I don't know how it worked. I don't know if they're allowed to do this, if they're not allowed to do. I don't know what airline procedures are, okay? I don't know. I don't even want to comment on it, okay? But at this time, remember, I made my conviction as I'm getting to New York tonight. And what happened is that I walked up to, you know, the booth.
What the fuck is it called? I don't even know.
I walked up to the counter where it said that there was a flight that was, is departing in maybe like an hour, 40 minutes, and it was going nonstop to JFK. So I walked over to the booth and I walked in like legit, like I had like my confident swag on, but it wasn't forced. It was just, I'm getting to New York tonight and I'm gonna go up to the ticket booth and they're gonna help me because they want to help me get to New York tonight. That's like the energy that I had. I wasn't consciously thinking that, but that, it's important because I'm telling you how I manifested that, okay?
Unknowingly, mind you, manifesting it unknowingly.
So I walk up to the booth, and then so there's this woman there, this flight attendant, and then I showed her my ticket, and then I was explaining what was going on, and then she was like, oh, okay, well, let me see if I could help you, whatever. I forget the exact wording that she was saying. I'm like, I noticed this flight is going to JFK. Is there any way that whatever? She's like, let me see. So she's doing whatever she's doing on the computer, and like we're just making small talk, like just general, like we're laughing, and then she's like, yeah, that's snow in Chicago, huh? I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, are you from New York? I'm like, yeah, I'm from New York, whatever, blah blah blah. So we were having our whole conversation. So then we're just like, she's on the computer, I don't know what she's doing. So then another guy comes out who also worked there, and then he's like, hey, what's up, like what's going on? Like, I don't know, like I guess there was good vibes going on, so he wanted to join the party. So this guy, he's like, oh, you're from New York? I'm like, yeah. He's like, Brooklyn or Queens? And at that time I was living in Queens. I was like, I'm from Queens. He's like, oh shit, like we're just having a party. And I'm like, you want to see the new pound that's going on in fucking New York? And he's like, what is that? So it's like it disintegrates, like we just did that. And then so the original woman who was helping me, she like starts laughing. She's like, what? Like it was just a good time. Mind you, this is high vibe. It's not, I wasn't stressed, I wasn't yelling at these people, I wasn't upset, I wasn't being arrogant about it. I was just laughing and joking with them. So then she's like, you know what, after I did the magic pound, I don't know, watch, that's be my new one, it disintegrates. So then we're laughing and joking. She's like, okay, you know what? I'm really not supposed to do this, but I got you on the direct flight to JFK. And I was like, oh snap. She's like, wait, but didn't you check your bags? Because she's thinking that I had like, baggage that I checked for the other flight. She's like, what about your bags? I was like, nope, got this, just my carry-on. She's like, oh wow, okay, that's awesome. Basically, it didn't even feel like the lady who was helping me was working or like doing anything. Like she got me on the flight. That's what happened. I went in, I had a positive attitude. It wasn't like I had an expectation. I just knew I'm gonna go up to the counter and they gonna get me to New York tonight, and that's what happened. So like I'm standing there talking to the two of them, and then like, okay, well, enjoy your flight, it's leaving in like 40 minutes, whatever the fuck. And that is what happened. Guess what, homie? I got to New York that night. Either which way, these examples that I gave in this little story time segment is that when I was not consciously manifesting these things, what was happening is that I was just in the moment. Like with the car needs to stop there, that would have been considered like a dire situation, and it was like, I was repeating the mantra, but I wasn't thinking anything else. I had the visual that, I was going to be peeing on the side of the road and car needs to stop. That is what I did. There was nothing else. With the Puma Stone situation, I was just being honest at the nail salon. I didn't expect anything. I wasn't like, oh, I deserve something great after this. It was like, no, I was honest and I paid for the stone the way that it was. And I just knew immediately as it happened, I was like, something good is going to happen because of this. And then boom, the $5 bill was presented to me. So I knew something good was going to happen. And the something good was that $5 bill was going to be delivered to me. And I ended up not paying for the Puma Stone at all. So that was something that I had this knowing come over me, and then I was walking home and it was just handed to me like right there on a silver platter. It was more like just an intuitive thought, and then I didn't think anything. I didn't try to manifest anything. I didn't wonder what is the good thing that's coming. I just knew that something good was coming because of that, and then it pertained obviously to the $5 bill that I spent on the Puma Stone, because the $5 bill was given back to me. And with the airport story, that one, it was similar to the Puma Stone one, where I was just like, should I stay? You know what? No, I'm getting to New York tonight. It was conviction. There was no thought about it. There was nothing but conviction. I'm getting to New York tonight. I was so sure. I was like, I'm gonna go through security and I'm gonna get to New York tonight. I wasn't upset. Do you see what I'm saying? I wasn't upset. I mean, when they first told me, I was a little like, huh? Like, I was like, what? But then it was like fleeting. It was like fucking fleeting. And then I was like, you know what? I'm getting to New York tonight. I wasn't mad. I wasn't pissed off. I wasn't annoyed. I was just like, I'm getting to New York tonight. That was it. So when I went looking, when I was walking around with the flights, when I saw the non-stop to JFK, I went over to the ticket booth because that was my inspired action, if you want to like call it. But it felt natural in the moment because I was like, I'm getting to New York tonight. Boom, flight direct to JFK from LAX. So I was like, all right, my inspired action, let me go up to the counter and see what they could do for me. And I didn't go up to the counter with an attitude or even an expectation. It was just like, hey, how are you? I was wondering. And then boom, it just unfolded where there were like, it didn't even feel like the woman who was helping me was doing work either. Do you see what I'm saying? It was like, it was just a casual, like everything like was executed so perfectly. And then when the other guy came out and then we started like doing the pound.
I'm just gonna call it the magic pound. That's it.
So we did the magic pound and whatever, that shit went on, but it was natural. You know, even when she asked me, oh, but don't you have checked luggage for the other flight? I was like, nope. And that's what it was. The way that everything was orchestrated, I only had the carry-on because I was only in LA for one night. So could it potentially have turned out different if I had bags packed for the other plane? Yeah, but that's not what it was. Perhaps if that had occurred, then maybe the story would have played out in a different, maybe more magical way, right? But everything, all of the elements that were composing the situation for me to get to New York that night, they happened naturally just when I declared I'm getting to New York tonight. And then inspired action led me there. It led those people who, listen, we've all been to airports and we've heard about customer service and things like that. Like, no, these were two pleasant motherfuckers, okay? They were very pleasant, joking around. Like, they, you know, it's like the stars aligned for me to intersect with those who I knew would help me there. And that's what happens. That's when we're talking about manifestation. Like, you are going to encounter people that are going to help you on your way, and you are going to be inspired to talk to them in whatever way. Not with an expectation, but just it's gonna feel so casual and just random, like, oh hey, that's how it's gonna feel. So in all of these instances, I did not consciously try to manifest anything. It just happened through inspired action. The first one, that would be, I consider like a dire example. Not dire like really crazy, but I mean, if I had pissed my pants in my friend's car, I don't know, that could have went a whole other way too. Basically, with that one, it was like, even if a situation seems dire and you don't see any possible way out, if you're solely focused on the solution, because that was it, the solution for that one was car needs to stop right now, not tomorrow, now. That's what needed to happen. And then it did, and it worked out perfectly, because even with that situation, we were able to pull over to a place in the road that was like a prime
peeing spot.
It was funny because me and my friend had jokes after that about me pissing in front of Yankee Stadium, and then we even had those, I don't know, Rangers or something, that they came and to help with the flat tire. So even that, the universe brought together the components to have that situation work out better than I even anticipated, better than even my friend anticipated, because now it's like there's people helping change the flat tire. Do you see? So with all of these stories, it just worked out magically, and I wasn't like actively doing it, but it still happened. So whether you are aware of it or not, beautiful and miraculous things always happen. That's what I got for you today. I am Oculus, the alien next door. Thank you for listening to me do a mini story time. We'll chit chat again soon.